Today we will discuss some beef that has been going on between Choppa City, aka W Street, and Cedar Gardens. Recently, 2 bodies have dropped from each hood back-to-back after on May 31st. Keith White, aka Stacks from Choppa City, would be killed after a triple shooting on W Street. A man was killed, and 2 other people were wounded by gunfire in Southeast DC Friday evening. According to the Metropolitan Police Department, the shooting happened in the 1600 block of W Street, Southeast, shortly after 6 p.m. When officers arrived, they found 2 men and a woman. All 3 of the victims had been shot. They were conscious and breathing when help arrived. The 3 victims were taken to an area hospital for treatment. One of the victims, identified as 18-year-old Keith White, succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead at the hospital. The other 2 victims have not been identified, but were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. No suspect information has been released. Police have closed the 1500-1600 blocks of W Street SE while they investigate the shooting. And after Stacks is killed on W Street 2 weeks later, Meech aka Demetrius Creek from Cedar Gardens would be killed while driving in Southeast. A shooting led to a crash in Southeast DC Saturday evening, according to the Metropolitan Police Department. Police said that around 9:30 p.m., a shooting took place in the 1400 block of Howard Road in Southeast DC, then resulted in a crash in the 2400 block of Southern Avenue. When police first arrived at the scene, they found evidence that a shooting had taken place, but no victims. Just moments after this happened, Prince George's County Police Department, PGPD officials, arrived at a multiple-car crash in the 2400 block of Southern Avenue Southeast, which marks the border between DC and Maryland. Here, officers found a young man, unconscious and unresponsive from a gunshot wound. He was pronounced dead on the scene. The young man has been identified as 19-year-old Demetrius Creek of Southeast DC. Police also later identified Creek as the person who was injured in the Howard Road shooting. Meech was close to rapper Young LB from Cedar Gardens, and this would be a big loss for him. In songs, Young LB can be heard dissing Twan from W Street, and W Street members also go by 7EM. And on Twan's Instagram, he called himself the W Street Hitta. He would be killed by 19-year-old Diamante Butler back in 2020. And Young LB also disses Arky J from Choppa City too. Arky J was killed as get back for Kelvin Goggins from 19th in Minnesota. He was also locked in with 37th. Allegedly, Arky J would be killed by Kelvin Goggins' brothers.
Now to this week's fugitive. Police say an unexpected run-in leads to murder. And tonight's Maryland's Most Wanted, Alexa Ashwell, has the search for a suspect who investigators say sought to avenge the death of his little brother.
Investigators say 2 brothers killed the man who they believe murdered their brother. One has since been captured. But Tayon Goggins has been on the run for nearly a year and a half. Investigators warn he should be considered armed and dangerous and need your help tracking him down.
October 4th, 2020, Southeast DC, a Sunday. Here in the community of Anacostia, the Goggins brothers, who just 3 months ago were forced to bury their youngest brother, 18-year-old Kelvin Goggins, happened to see the man who they believe shot and killed him.
They just saw that it was an opportunity. It was something that they were seeking, and unbeknownst to them, the individual was directly right across the street from where they were.
Seeking revenge. Investigators say 24-year-old Tayon Goggins and his brother, Kevin Goggins, in that moment took justice into their own hands, opening fire and killing the man. The victim, identified as Yisa Jeffcoat.
So they just went and shot and killed him.
Shot and killed him. That individual, the victim, was alone by himself.
Tony Gauze is a senior inspector with the U.S. Marshals Service.
The south side of the Capitol.
He confirms Jeffcoat was a second suspect in the Goggins brothers' murder. Shortly after his death, Kevin Goggins was arrested. But Tayon Goggins has been on the run ever since. And according to Gauze, is no stranger to the criminal justice system.
Well, Mr. Goggins does have a history of, again, assaults, drug possessions, and firearm possessions.
Do you believe Goggins is still in the D.C. area?
It's our belief that he may be in the D.C. area. He does have ties to South Baltimore. He has ties to Southern Maryland, the surrounding counties, the Prince George's counties around Washington, D.C. itself.
How do you believe he's been able to evade capture this?
He's got resources from friends and family.
armed and with help in a revenge killing.
These individuals, they were definitely looking for retaliation.
Take a good look. Goggins stands at about 5'8", weighing nearly 150 pounds. Take note of the large tattoo on the front of his neck there. If you have any information into his whereabouts, you can report it anonymously to the U.S. Marshal's Office tip line. That number here, 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact Gauze directly. That number, 202-427-0183. As it stands, there is now a $7,000 reward being offered for information into Goggins' whereabouts. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
Meantime, D.C. police have identified the teenager killed in a triple shooting Friday evening. Now, this happened at 6 o'clock at 16th and W Street Southeast. That's in historic Anacostia. Police say 18-year-old Keith White died at the hospital. A man and a woman were also shot. We're told they are expected to survive. No arrests have been made in either case. But if you know any information, police want to hear from you. Remember, you can always text anonymous tips to 50411.
Cedar Gardens would get their rips bent very, very often on Person of Interest 2, and a fake Amiri stepper would attempt to stop a car around Choppa.